It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to shows and read reviews online at wcbe.org.
I'm John DeSando,
And I'm Kevin Carr.
and this is It's Movie Time.
It is. It's still movie time.
It still is, and we are on top of it
Yep.
because we have one of the 8 nominees to talk about today for
Yeah.
the Oscar,
Yeah.
The Father.
The Father. Which is one I was not. What's interesting about The Father, even before we talk about the movie, being an award nominee, it always seems to be a dark horse when they read the nominations.
I know.
It's not the one everyone talks. It's Nomadland and Minari and
Right,
Mank. Everyone's
It
talking
isn't,
about those.
it isn't, and I had a similar thought, except that Hopkins is such a behemoth. and this is the old-time arty film.
Yeah.
You know, so kind of a chamber piece.
Yeah.
And so that I could see it getting in there, but you're absolutely right. Besides, it has no chance of winning.
No, unfortunately, it doesn't, which is sad because there's some great stuff in this movie.
And Hopkins doesn't have a chance of getting Best Actor.
Well, I don't think anyone except for Chadwick Boseman. I mean, that's just
I know.
that when that
I know
happens,
it.
a circumstance.
I know, Kev. I know. You're right. Because what an actor. And we'll talk about a little bit about him as we move into the podcast section.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
a little bit about his career.
Sure.
But The Father.
hmm
Basically, what's it about, Kev?
It is about a man who is suffering from a form of dementia,
Yeah.
and he's losing his faculties, but it's told from his point of view.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So you're seeing his confusion as people seem to change from one person to another, or his circumstances change, and he can't mentally keep up with it.
Yeah.
And it's very confusing for the viewer, which is it's meant to do that because it puts you in the
Boy,
seat of
it
the
does.
patient.
And what was some recent one? Still Alice, was it?
Well, Still Alice was several years ago with
Yeah.
Julianne Moore, but this year there have been a couple. There was the one Falling with Viggo Mortensen,
Okay.
where his father, played by Lance Henderson, was dealing with dementia, and there was also Supernova with Colin Firth
Of course
and
it was. Yeah,
and
that's
Stanley
an
Tucci as a
early,
couple.
very early stage.
Yeah, where he's still recognizing
Yes,
he's falling.
yeah,
apart.
yeah.
But that's a real common thing. It's starting to show up in a lot of movies that deal with dementia and how many different forms there are and what the toll it has, not just on the person involved, but the people taking care of it.
Yeah. And so Anthony Hopkins plays Anthony, strangely enough.
Yeah,
And it's a play.
yeah,
And the playwright is also the director, Florian Zeller.
yeah.
And it has that stagey quality to it.
It does feel like a stage performance, but that's because it is. I mean,
I know.
it's I wouldn't say one room, but one location.
And-
Even though the location changes in a lot of ways.
Oh, it does. I thought first, and then I read somebody who was thinking a little bit about The Shining, with the hallways.
With the
Hallway
impossible,
motif.
the sort of the impossible geography, how things
Yes.
will change as you go from room
Yes,
to room.
because it's a very small area,
Yeah.
but somehow you get get a more of an expansive feeling, or the changing as you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Well, yeah, because it goes through different stages
Yeah,
in his life, and he does move in there, but you don't witness that stuff drops out, and that's one of the things I found most unique about this because it does comes wholly from his perspective.
yes.
And that's, even if you look at the other 2 movies I mentioned that came out this year, that's not how it's coming from. It always comes from the people witnessing it happening.
Yeah, and there are a couple of other actors here, but the most prominent one is Olivia Colman.
Of course, I love Olivia Colman.
Boy, is she good.
I've always loved that she can do comedy, she can do drama.
She plays the queen in one,
Yeah.
a kind of Randy Queen here, and then she's playing this kind of middle-aged frump
Yeah,
in this one.
yeah, and it's very similar to like the character she played in like Broadchurch. Like you said, just sort of this middle-aged, soft-spoken person.
Yes.
I mean, it's very different than when she won the Oscar for The Favorite,
Yes.
where she was just wonderful, in it, but like a little bit more over the top. For her.
She was. And she is being verbally abused by her dad,
Yeah.
by Hopkins.
Yeah.
And to one point where he says that his other daughter was his favorite.
Yeah.
Wow, ouch.
Well, and this is the reality of dementia. There are some people, and there's so many different forms of dementia. It's not just Alzheimer's or something.
Right,
like
and
that.
they never mention it.
No, they always just make it very vague
Yes.
because who really cares what you
What you
have?
call it.
It's the result that is the struggle.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's treatments and stuff, but a lot of times it's a progression that you can't stop. And a lot of people have felt this in their lives, and the struggle with that is when you lose your mind, your body's still healthy, so it's not like cancer where it's a debilitating disease that you watch
Sure.
them take the person away.
Yeah.
It's you just watch them take sometimes their personality and in a mental capacity.
And I like your comment because it reminds me of a thought I had too. You know, this is really about aging as much as it is anything about approaching death.
Yeah,
I mean, he's 83,
yeah,
and it's in the horizon. And so even if you didn't call it, and you're quite right, you don't need to call it anything.
No.
You simply know he's getting older, and that's affecting him. And an engineer with a very nice London flat, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
So-
I mean, yeah. But the thing that is so devastating about it is you see him as he is, not as he was, which is the flip side of what you saw with like Supernova.
Yeah, you're right.
Where you see him as him, or still Alice even, where she was afraid of losing him.
Yes. In fact, I'm often thinking either about what Anthony was when he was a younger man, or I'm thinking of Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
It's hard not to.
And that is the one danger of having such a just well-known and versatile actor is
Yeah.
to not see them as just another version of. I mean, obviously you don't see him as Hannibal Lecter,
Right.
but you can. It's for even a smaller change, like even when he did the Two Popes, not in 2019. These are not dissimilar characters,
Right.
Cervical old men that he's playing. That's the biggest problem sometimes is divorcing everything you think about the character. But he's such a good actor that he can do that.
And Kevin, his filmography is at least 139 entries.
Yeah, I can't even begin to. I don't know if anyone's ever seen all of them. I don't know if he has.
And a lot of it is TV,
Yeah.
some shorts.
Well, a lot of the British tend to float in and out of TV.
Yes.
In and out of, and even just like popular TV. It seems to be a bigger deal when a big movie star says, "I'm going to do a TV show in America," but in Olivia Colman's like that as well. There's other people in there. You got Mark Gatiss playing ostensibly possibly a husband,
Right,
there, as another person that just seems to come and go.
I know.
And he's got an extensive resume on TV and in movies
Yes.
and stuff. You look at me like, I've seen that guy a dozen places.
Talk to me about Imogen Poots.
Oh yeah, what's so interesting about her.
I knew you would.
Is you're introduced to her early on, and you think you know who she is, but then by the time you have no idea who she is and who she represents and who the person is, because he is so confused. When she's brought in as a caregiver, you don't know who she represents because, and at the beginning when you see her, you're not even aware of how confused he is until you get farther along, and then you're halfway through the movie and you're like, wait, what was her purpose? And it does lead. You've rewatched it. I've only watched it
Yes.
once. Does it give you a better feel
Yes.
watching it?
Oh,
the second
yeah,
time?
it makes more sense because he keeps talking about her resemblance to the daughter that he lost.
Yes.
And that gives it some context.
Yeah.
Still confusing, as you
Yes.
said at the beginning. Still, and you must go with the confusion.
Yeah.
You
got to lean into it.
You absolutely do. And I'll tell you, Kevin, one of my favorite scenes in this film when he first meets her,
Mhm.
and he does his showing off.
Yeah.
And he does a little tap dance and verbally very dexterous.
Yeah.
It's something, well, a young woman will do that to an older man.
Mhm.
Will just bring that out of him. And it was delightful to see. But, as in many cases, he can be mean.
Well, but I think it was also there to show, it was an attempt for him to show how grounded he was, even if he wasn't.
I know.
And you don't know, was
Yeah.
he just stumbling around? Was he as dexterous as we saw him, or was that kind of in his head?
Well, that makes me think how difficult it is to give care to someone that bright, that he can pull off that stuff and make you scratch your head and say, gee, I wonder, he's really pretty together in that bit.
Well, yeah, and the thing, I've dealt with forms of dementia in my own personal life with people, and one of the biggest challenges that people have is, like you said, you have to lean into the confusion of this movie, and you just kind of have to you have to resign yourself in real life. If you're in this situation, you have to resign yourself to the confusion. Don't argue with it. You kind of just have to let 80% of the confusion just kind of flow by, and that's kind of it's less agitating for the patient.
Yeah. And, you know, he is such a good actor.
Mhm.
I can't keep my eyes off of him. And the director's making sure I'm not by close-ups that are more close-ups than you'll ever see
Yeah.
in your life. But it is the way he moves his eyes, the way he moves his face. I mean, I'm just saying the obvious for a brilliant actor.
Well, but it's all in, and that's the difference between stage and
Oh,
screen.
gosh,
You know,
yeah.
he's got the ticks,
Oh, he does.
the real subtle movements.
He really